I'm Nora Harper, 37, a marketing manager in Boise, Idaho. Living in a condo I earned through endless caffeine-fueled nights and polished presentations. That tense Monday morning during our weekly stand-up where budgets hung in the air like storm clouds, my phone vibrated sharply on the conference table. It was a text from my younger sister, Lila, now 20, still chasing those fleeting moments of glamour. Need $2,800 for a big event. Send now? My heart tightened, a mix of frustration and that familiar pull of obligation. What was this really? A lavish night out, perhaps, dressed in illusions of importance. I fired back discreetly. Earn it yourself. Minutes later, the replies hit like echoes from a past I couldn't escape, first from our mother. Evelyn, pay or don't call yourself family. Then from our father. Richard, do the right thing. Heat flushed through me, not just anger, but a deeper ache. The kind that whispers you've been a shadow in your own story, for years. I'd funneled money into a joint family account I'd set up myself, convincing my heart it was for essentials, bills, groceries, those quiet emergencies that families face together. But this demand for extravagance cracked something open, threading a sharper truth through the rage. I'd been convenient, not cherished. That evening, alone in my living room, I paced until the floor seemed to wear thin under my steps, replaying their words like a loop that stole my breath. Scrolling through old bank transfers, $1,200 here, $800 there, I saw them not as acts of love, but a string of kindnesses I'd labeled duty, each one pulling me further from my own dreams. I thought of Lila's birthdays that sparkled with gifts I'd funded while I sacrificed weekends to deadlines, of Evelyn's hurried pleas that always carried an undercurrent of expectation, and Richard's soft-spoken "can you help" that now felt like chains. By midnight, with the same resolve I brought to approving a high-stakes campaign, I sat at my laptop, fingers hovering before I began severing those invisible ties, canceling subscriptions I covered, halting auto transfers, enabling every alert. The joint account remained, but my flow of generosity? It stopped cold. The next morning, by 8:30, the world felt strangely unbalanced, a hush where demands once echoed. Then an urgent bank email pierced the quiet, a large transaction alert. My stomach twisted as I read it, $5,000 withdrawn at dawn. This wasn't just about some fleeting event anymore. It was a pattern unveiling itself, forcing me to question how deep the deception ran. What had that money truly gone toward rent for them, or another whim that masked deeper troubles? Pulse racing, I needed clarity over the guilt that clawed at me. I walked 2 doors down to legal. Knocking on Claravin's office, she'd returned from law school, even more incisive, a quiet ally in chaos. "Quick favor?" I asked, keeping my voice even. Within minutes, armed with my credentials and her steady guidance, we delved into the bank portal. The ledger unfolded a narrative I'd subconsciously edited out, months of hefty transfers to credit card companies, auto loans, an unfamiliar lender. Then the smaller drains, boutiques, upscale restaurants, a travel agency, and shockingly, an event planner that screamed excess. Claire scrolled, her brow furrowing. "This isn't groceries," she murmured. "They're funding debts and a lifestyle on your dime." We pulled years of statements, and the grand total slammed into me like a gust stealing my air. $100,000, withdrawn since I'd opened the account. Memories flooded back, Evelyn's gentle, insistent voice on late-night calls, just this once, for Richard. Lila's wide-eyed excitement over things I made possible. And there, buried in the logs, a second mortgage they'd taken without a word. I closed my eyes against the betrayal, then sealed the account properly, freezing transfers, revoking linked cards, resetting every safeguard. With a deep breath, I composed one measured email. "The account is now closed to you. I know about the withdrawals. There will be no more money." Almost instantly, my phone erupted. Lila called first, her voice laced with outrage and desperation. "You can't do this." "We need it for what, another indulgence?" I pressed, my tone firm yet laced with sorrow. She hung up with a choked gasp, leaving silence that echoed louder than words. Evelyn followed with walls of texts about bare survival, while Richard sent a solitary line. "Think about what you're doing to us." I did think long and hard, then chose to anchor myself instead. That brittle calm carried me through a sleepless night. Folder of printed statements clutched under my arm as I drove to their split-level house at noon. Evelyn perched on the couch, rigid. Richard lingered by the window, shadows playing across his face. Lila scrolled her phone, avoiding my gaze. I placed the documents on the coffee table with deliberate care. I know about the second mortgage, I said softly, about the cards, the event planner. Evelyn's lips thinned, her eyes flashing. You don't air family business like this. You made it my business when you spent my earnings, I countered, the words tasting like long-buried truth. Richard straightened, defensive. We were drowning, you were supposed to help. I did help, I replied, tapping the damning totals. $100,000. That was meant for necessities, not to delay your consequences or wrap Lila in luxury. Lila finally looked up, cheeks flushed with a mix of shame and defiance. I didn't ask you to open that account. You asked for $2,800 and called it family, I said, my voice steady but laced with quiet pain. Love is not a wire transfer. Voices escalated then, a storm of demands, defenses, and deflections swirling around us. Evelyn's pleas turned sharp, Richard's quiet pleas morphed into accusations, and Lila's youthful spark dimmed under the weight of exposure. I didn't raise my voice in return. Instead, I absorbed it all, gathering the pages like pieces of my reclaimed self. Standing, I set the boundary clear, no more money. If you want my presence, it comes without the price tag. Evelyn blinked, but no remorse softened her features. Richard's final words hung heavy. Then we're finished. I nodded, a quiet ache blooming in my chest. If that's your choice. Weaving, I blocked their numbers in the driveway, sitting until my heartbeat steadied, the air feeling lighter with each passing second. Weeks blurred into a tentative peace, a cousin's text revealed bankruptcy filed. The house listed for sale, Lila taking a retail job to stand on her own. Grief mingled with a rush of oxygen like breathing freely after years underwater. I met with Claire again, sealing every financial loophole, crafting a budget that centered my future. Therapy unraveled the knots of guilt twisted with duty, teaching me that true connection thrives without strings, yet as spring whispered renewal. I found myself donating a gown I'd once splurged on for a Galia piece of elegance I'd worn with borrowed confidence. Watching a young woman at the thrift store twirl in it, her laughter pure and unburdened, stirred something profound. That joy, untainted by obligation, mirrored the freedom I claimed. But in quiet moments, I wondered, would the silence between us ever break with genuine words? Or had the pattern etched too deep?